Unplug with Nap. Yeah, we cut through the noise. No script, no leash, no polished decoys. Broadcasting without permission. We don't ask. We lift the curtain and we drop the mask. Unplug with Nap. Yeah, we cut through the noise. No script, no leash, no polished decoys. Broadcasting without permission. We don't ask. We lift the curtain and we drop the mask. Unplug with Nap. Yeah.
Well, hello there to all the good people of Ohio and beyond. This is Aaron Knapp, and you're tuned into Unplugged, broadcasting without permission. This is a place where the truth gets louder and we dig deeper, and where we always remember, be lawful, not awful. If you want the full stories, the documents, the videos, and everything they don't want you to see, head on over to AaronKnappUnplugged.com. My new home for every investigation, every episode, and every update. And while you're here, be sure to like the video, follow the page, and hit subscribe. And share this with someone who needs the truth. We're building something real here. We're building something fearless. And we're doing it together. Welcome to Unplugged. Let's kick this thing off. I've seen what happens when those sworn to protect the law break it themselves. Today, I'm talking to you inside a story that's shaking up Lorain, Ohio, and communities everywhere. Imagine a police sergeant behind the wheel of a city cruiser, crashing into two parked cars and a shed, then driving home, hiding his vehicle in his barn. Well, folks, that's exactly what happened with Lorain Police Sergeant Eric Rivera in April of 2025. The official report shows Rivera's cruiser, a 2020 Dodge, struck two vehicles and a shed on West 9th Street. And you can check that out at on multiple places, including LorraineDaily.com and in my own stories. The surprising twist was that he left. He left the scene, went home, and only then later did he actually report the crash.
Unplug with Nap. Yeah, we cut through the noise. No script, no leash, no polished decoys. Broadcasting without permission. We don't ask. We lift the curtain and we drop the mask. Unplug with Nap. Yeah, we cut through the noise. No script, no leash, no polished decoys. Broadcasting without permission. We don't ask. We lift the curtain and we drop the mask.
All right, folks, how's it going today? I am happy to see you here on this great Friday morning. It's Friday. Enjoy your Friday. So we're going to start this one out today talking about Rivera's DUI crash, or OVI as you guys call it here in Ohio, and the internal investigation that followed. Now, I'm starting this story out with facts. So, on the night of April 17th, 2025, off-duty Sergeant Eric Rivera was driving his department-issued cruiser when he lost control at an intersection. The internal reports confirmed that he hit two parked cars and even a shed. Now, eyewitnesses say he drove on and didn't call it in immediately. By the time patrol officers arrived, they found the wrecked cruiser. It was at Rivera's home, with the front badly damaged and the back end as well. There was damage to the sheds, damage to the vehicles, damage to pretty much everything. It's pretty bad. That's all I got to say about that. Now, he then calls his superiors. Fouling sends out an officer to do an investigation, and what happened next is straight out of the police records. Okay, so the Officer Ball transported Rivera to Mercy Hospital for an occupational health exam. Now, this is a routine step that's supposed to occur after every crash or any crash involving a city vehicle. There are two breathalyzer tests that were taken that night or morning. Actually, it was night. It was around 11:30. Both came up, one at 0.138 and the other at 0.131. Now, that's well above Ohio's legal limit of 0.08. Now, Rivera's own statement claimed he'd had several alcoholic beverages after arriving home. And that was an impossible timeline given that the readings and the times. And in short, all the facts just didn't add up. You've got these BACs that are literally way too high. You have an internal investigation that doesn't look very, it looks pretty one-sided. So you get Lorraine's Office of Professional Standards, and they open this internal affairs investigation on April 21st. Now, the investigation found multiple policy violations, right? Investigators formally sustained charges of gross misconduct, ethics violation, misuse of a city vehicle, and failing to care for property. Now, those are serious breaches of a police officer's code. In May of 25, Lorraine police disciplined Rivera. He was demoted from sergeant to patrol officer and ordered to pay nearly $16,000 to cover the damages. He was also placed on leave and barred from police facilities and city cars during the probe. Now, that wasn't all. City records also show that Lorraine retained a special prosecutor for the case, and in July of 25, the city board approved hiring an outside attorney to handle the criminal side of this. Rivera faces misdemeanor charges for the crash, so his case goes beyond the department discipline. But as this story unfolded, questions started piling up. Like, why did it take so long to address an off-duty OVI crash? And how transparent was the process? One investigative reporter, let me just say I later asked, questions about transparency in this and how Lorraine handled the case. And I don't feel that they've given us any transparency. I've had to fight it down. I have now obtained the body camera footage, which is highly redacted and muted. And that's not good. So, let's break down what we've got. We've got the police report facts, but perhaps the most revealing evidence is the officer's body-worn camera footage from that night. Lorraine released the clips to me from the two officers who responded to Rivera's home. No, the one that responded to his home, and then the multiple that responded out to the actual site, right? And, the recordings speak volumes, not least because of what the officer said and when their cameras went silent. So we've got Officer Nikki Kent, and we have Officer Vincenzo Cantalado were among the first on scene. As they drive up, their dash cam showed the smashed city cruiser. Showed all, they're driving up, and you're seeing the people there. And then you see, Kent and Cantalado getting out of their vehicles to assess the scene at hand, right? They're talking to the citizenry that are on site. And in the beginning, Cantalado cracks out, probably just some kids chasing each other as they were walking back, searching it. One of the things that Cantalado, or you hear them say is, no way this is a cop car. So right off the bat, they didn't believe it was a cop car. And then you see them, later looking around, and at one point, Cantalado finds the piece of the vehicle. And now on the video, you hear Cantalado yelling at a nearby neighbor who says she saw the crash. The woman is calmly describing a Dodge Charger racing through the intersection and hitting this parked car and shed. But when you're first dealing with Kent, Kent walks up to the scene, and she's like, if you watch the video, she's in disbelief the whole time. She's talking to this woman as if she's a liar right off the bat. And the woman can tell it. It's telling in the way she speaks. The answer they kept giving over and over and over again was, well, we would know if it was a police car because everybody's on that's on duty. We know their cars. So as the woman's getting more frustrated with her, she eventually leaves to go over, and she talks to Cantalado. And, he's trying to get information from her, and he can be heard, talking to her. But the problem is throughout Cantalado's body cam footage, he is just cursing up a storm. Now, that's against Lorraine police policy. That was one of the policies I was going to change if elected, was to change the profanity side of things. But Cantalado is using sarcasm and profanity throughout the entire body cam video. That's a violation of Lorraine police policy. I assume you guys are going to write him up for saying the F word so many times in front of citizenry while in uniform. He can be heard swearing repeatedly. He and Kent both dismiss, the witness's account. And, you know, I'm very disappointed in the way they handled it. If you guys go look at the video cameras of their body cameras, the audio and video, you'll see that at one point you see them both mute their body cameras. In the footage, you can see Kent place her hand on the camera. Their microphones go suddenly silent, right? Cantelado keeps talking loudly about the crash as if he's forgotten the mic is off. You know, they're just sitting there. But when Cantelado starts making comments throughout the audio, so you hear him talking to the citizenry and himself, and he says things like, well, they were effing flying, and then what an effing show. And only when Rivera only when the sergeant comes and shows up, did they start to act a little bit professional. Now, this raises red flags because Lorain police policy, like most departments, require body cameras to be on and recording at all traffic stops and crash investigations. Muting or turning them off is strictly against policy. Yet here we see Kent and Cantelado effectively censoring their own footage after hearing the witness's side. I just don't know here, guys. I believe that they were asked in the investigation about muting their cameras, but I think they said they didn't remember muting them. The big issue I have is Kent is heard flatly calling a witness a liar. The woman finishes telling her the story, and it basically, she's like, well, and it, basically she keeps explaining it over and over and over again. Is I have a hard time believing, and so. It's really hard to overstate how alarming this is when you see a citizen calmly reporting what she saw and two officers not only down her, but just sort of slam her, not only behind her back to her face, all captured on their body camera footage that they, at times intentionally muted or obscured. And I sit here and I listen to her talk to the citizen. You could tell that the citizen was getting upset. You could tell that Nikki didn't believe the citizen. And even if you don't, you could do a little bit better job of hiding it instead of acting like a total, like superior, haughty individual. Like, I just was disgusted by her treatment, as well as Cantelado's treatment of these witnesses. These were witnesses. And more importantly, you hear the witness who's not a party to the matter, who didn't have a car or a house or a shed involved in it, that wasn't the crashee or the crasher, was literally just a witness. This African-American woman is sitting out on her front porch, and she's telling this officer, listen, not from around here. I moved here from Cleveland, but I can dang sure tell you I know what a state trooper car looks like. It's silver with a badge. Your guys just say police on the side. She's clearly giving all the identifying features of the Lorain police car. She's clearly telling them that's what she saw. Now, they even step it back a moment and try to say, hey, maybe it wasn't one of your guys. Maybe this was somebody that stole a police car. Maybe you have one for sale. Is it on a lot? Is there one that's in repair? Like, they gave them every opportunity for it to not be an officer. And of course, the Lorain Police Department just acted like there was zero chance it could be an officer. Well, all along, it was definitely an officer. Not even just any officer, but a high-ranking sergeant within the Lorain Police Department. And that's what bothers me the most, is the way they're treating these people. At one point, you hear Cantelado yell at somebody like, not tonight, Henry, or something like that. So, these excerpts and more will certainly be discussed and played back, when the more we look at them. But what emerges from the picture is officers just seem more interested in their jokes and protecting their police force and Rivera. They didn't know it at the time, but then in fact gathering. It's kind of an unsettling look. This is what happens when colleagues try to protect one of their own on a careless night. So I don't get it. But, I see how this case isn't isolated. I see how other departments have faced similar scandals. In the light of this, we went and we pulled up all kinds of information in regards to other cities, other states, and how they're doing things in the grand scheme of keeping it rolling forward. So we're going to discuss those cases and more as we move forward. And we're going to take a quick break.
Unplug with Nap.
Here at Unplugged with Aaron Knapp, we like to thank our sponsors. We have a few unofficial sponsors tonight, and they are definitely not paid sponsorships. I want to throw out there a big thank you to Joseph Jones and Eric Jones of the Lorraine Daily and the Vermilion Daily. They have a local news page. You should check them out. They do plenty of great work broadcasting all the news that is the news that you want to have in Lorain and Lorain County. So check them out. Also, please, if you need any legal services, feel free to reach out to Robert Gargas. You can find him listed online. He's a fine attorney and comes highly recommended by yours truly. And last but not least, I want to mention D&C Radio. Please make sure you check out one of the up-and-coming internet hip-hop stations and all of their shows. They put on a lot of shows. You have the Never Outdone show. You also have the Eric Bowen show, Speak Up, Speak Out. So please make sure you guys check them out as well if you're looking for your latest and up-to-date hip-hop artistry.
Unplug with Nap. Yeah, we cut through the noise. No script, no leash, no polished decoys. Broadcasting without permission. We don't ask. We lift the curtain and we drop the mask. Unplug with Nap. Yeah, we cut through the noise. No script, no leash, no polished decoys. Broadcasting without permission. We don't ask. We lift the curtain and we drop the mask. Unplug with Nap. Yeah, we cut through the noise. No script, no leash, no polished decoys. Broadcasting without permission. We don't ask. We lift the curtain and we drop the mask. Unplug with Nap. Yeah, we cut through the noise. No script, no leash, no polished decoys. Broadcasting without permission. We don't ask. We lift the curtain and we drop the mask. Unplug with Nap. Yeah, we cut through the noise. No script, no leash, no polished decoys. Broadcasting without permission. We don't ask. We lift the curtain and we drop the mask. Unplug with Nap. Yeah, we cut through the noise. No script, no leash, no polished decoys. Broadcasting without permission. We don't ask. We lift the curtain and we drop the mask. Unplug with Nap. Yeah, we cut through the noise. No script, no leash, no polished decoys.
All right, folks, welcome back. And I'd like to say we're going to keep digging in on this story. So in our next segment, the witness, the liar, and policy violations, we've got one key question is how in this case, the officers treated the witness. That witness, whom reports identify only, I think, as Miss Lewis, was actually at her home when she saw the incident. Yet instead of being thanked for coming forward, as we would think they would do, the video shows she was smeared. And apparently what is standard police procedure in Lorain, a clear-eyed witness can make or break a case. But in Lorain, it's usually supposed to be standard procedure. But, this woman's story was undercut. Kenton Cantelado repeatedly implied she was mistaken, all without a shred of evidence. When Kent called her basically a liar on camera, she wasn't offering an opinion. She was caught on tape showing utter disrespect. In the body cam timestamps, the confrontation lasted only about 30 seconds. A flat-out accusation to a private citizen for doing her civic duty, right? That's the incident. And it didn't go on, and it did go unexamined, except for me. I feel like Lorain PD rules require officers to be courteous and respectful to the public. Kent's sworn statement, later admitted that she had never even asked the witness for her contact information, I don't believe, which it wasn't. If you listen in the video, you can hear it, and then Cantelado later gets it. So, and then later you see them properly canvassing the scene, but they didn't do it in the beginning, and that's the problem. The officers cut corners, and then they tried to discredit anyone who could contradict the story. Another glaring violation is the body cams themselves. The department's policy is explicit. The officers must keep their cameras on during all critical incidents. The footage shows Kent and Cantalato intentionally muted their body cameras after the crash. That's a direct policy breach. Police chiefs, including Lorraine's, have told investigators in the past, like if a camera is off or muted without cause, that could be considered misconduct. And when the internal reports were filed, I just have to say it. I'd like to really see how are we addressing these officers speaking to the public this way. It begs the question, like, what message are they sending when they call a truthful witness a liar? And then by covering their tracks on the video, and these kind of things, if they were actually done a proper investigation, would have been, behaviors that should have, got them some sort of a reprimand. When you think about it, it means that the crash narrative comes only from the police side, and the citizen and civilian witnesses were shut down. The evidence, it basically felt tampered with. It erodes the very foundation of policing, the honesty and the transparency that's supposed to go with it. This woman's treatment won't be forgotten by the community. We see what you did. We see how you went after this woman. And again, if I were her, I would never speak to you guys again. From the beginning, I want you to get this. She told you it was a Lorraine police cruiser. She told you why she thought it was a Lorraine police cruiser, right? She gave you all the identifying information, more so than a standard witness would give. She was able to tell you it said Lorraine, or at least police on the side, which is definitively Lorraine police. Whereas when you look at the side of a state trooper's car, you see a badge, right? And that's what she pointed out. She was like, hey, listen, here's the deal. I know what state troopers look like. I've had an incident with them with my guy. He was yanked out of a car, so I definitively know what they look like. I also see you guys drive up and down these streets on the regular. I'm originally from Cleveland, she says, and I know the difference between a police car and a state trooper car. And I'm telling you, that car, that police car, drove across this yard, hit this. He goes, I came out and saw when he was backing up. She witnessed him back into the shed and then drive away across this big grassy area. So again, folks, like, and this, I initially felt like when I heard the crash, and even when I heard the audio files of his IA report, which I did get that first, it reads in it that, I think I hit something. You think? Bro, you didn't think you hit something. You freaking hit something. I mean, that's not, I was thinking he was driving down the road, maybe sideswiped the car, caught the back end of it and pushed it up into the other one. And this dude drove off the road, drove through like a grassy area, hit two cars, backed into a shed, and then decided in his best interest to drive home and hide his car in his freaking barn. Even when you watch the hour-long body cam of Ball showing up, the tow truck driver shows up and he's asking Ball questions, and Ball's like, no, it's not this vehicle. I need to go check in and see what's going on. I don't even know where the vehicle's at. So that's the thing. Rivera hid the vehicle. He parked it in his barn and then locked the gate. He didn't park it out front. He didn't park it where it was visible. He had to come up with a strategy first, right? From the second you hear him talking to Ball, his strategy is about the sleepy. Now, I personally like Officer Ball. I think he's an outstanding officer, and I think he was put in a very difficult position that night by Sergeant Rivera. There were some jokes made throughout the interaction with him and Ball, but it felt tense. No matter what, you could tell from the tone of Jamie's size as he walked up to the door. Like, I could hear him just in his mind thinking, I don't want to be here, and I don't blame him. I don't want to do this, and I don't blame him. And I can't believe I'm having to do this for my sergeant, and I don't blame him. Not one bit. I'm sorry you had to go through that, Jamie, because that was really crappy. And out of all the officers that I watched participate in this debacle, Jamie was probably the only one that handled himself appropriately and officially. The rest were total jerks. Now, mind you, none of them knew at the time that it was Rivera. But you just straight called the citizens liars. Why would we ever want to talk to those two officers again? I mean, honestly, I would never, ever give a witness statement to Nikki or to Cantalato ever. So because of the way they treated her, she was being totally honest with you. It turns out it was one of your vehicles. It turns out it was one of your people. I think you guys should go back and apologize to all those people. I think Contalado, I understand having a potty mouth. I mean, I got a potty mouth, right? But I used my potty mouth for effect. He dropped more F-bombs than we dropped bombs on Kandahar. I mean, I just feel like there were F-bombs galore, and he too was discounting people. He did go around and do a police of the area. He did find a piece of a patrol car at one point, and you hear him whispering under his breath where he says something. I forgot exactly what it was, but it was like, oh boy, or uh-oh, or they knew. That's when they started muting the body cam. Hey, I found this piece. Let me take you over and show you. Like, there's more to it. And I imagine at some point they finally got word out that it was Rivera. Because mind you, initially, this was reported. Rivera didn't call in for over an hour. And so this happened probably around 10, ball's not even out to Rivera's place until 11 p.m. or so. Or maybe it was 11 something on the body cams. So I don't even know what time Rivera and Ball had to go back and look at the body cams when he went to Mercy and got the blood drawn, or the urinalysis or the breathalyzer or whatever it was. But back to the side of the road. So you've got this 30-minute interaction with these officers and a sergeant on the side of the road. I have the other body cam footage too that I put up, and the woman's treatment's not going to be forgotten. I'm a community advocate, and I'm just going to point out that this is a case of an example of a police officer's word versus a citizen's word, and whether the system stacks the deck in the favor of its own. With cameras turned off, the public only saw what the officers wanted them to see right when they were muted. And so I really hope, their internal probe called Rivera, they said it was gross misconduct and care of property and equipment violations. But the deeper issue at hand is the public is supposed to have in law enforcement is trust. And we can't have trust when they're doing this, when they're lying to us, when they're burying this stuff. And when someone that's a sergeant was supposed to actually step up and do something right and report themselves, they didn't. They did everything wrong. Rivera did everything wrong. Not only did he flee the scene of what I call this a felony hit and run. He did $15,000 damage to his own car. That doesn't even discuss the damage he did to the other two vehicles, and we don't know if we paid out on that or the shed, or the damage done to the Lorain police reputation through his actions and the actions of Officer Cantalado and little Miss Nikki doing what they're doing and being a total. I'm going to say it, like Nikki, the officer was a total B word. Like, I'm trying to be better about the cussing because everybody says I cuss too much. And, I don't want to complain about someone else's cussing while calling out somebody else's. But you've got Nikki out here doing what she's doing in a way that totally disrespects the people and the personnel. And so I just have to call that out. That's not okay. We don't do that. We don't speak to people that way. We don't speak to our citizens that way. So I'm going to have to ask that this officer maybe get some sensitivity training. Don't send her to the one that McCann took, though, because didn't work. Anyway, so we have a troubling pattern here, right? We've got this pattern of Lorain isn't an isolated case. And this is kind of where I'm going to take it a little broader for those, who may be tuning in from outside. Across the county and across the country, we've seen multiple instances of officers getting behind the wheel drunk with far too little accountability. There are other instances both around in Lorain that I've found, but I brought up some big instances around the United States. So in Washington State, for example, they had a Seattle police officer who crashed his car into a ditch while intoxicated. His blood alcohol was reportedly more than twice the legal limit. He eventually pleaded guilty to only a neglect driving misdemeanor and received a suspended sentence with a fine. Many saw that as shockingly lenient for an on-duty officer showing slurred speech and stumbling around a patrol car. Closer to his home in Ohio, last September, the village of Wallbridge, made the headlines when a patrolman there, Michael Irvin, arrived at a domestic call so drunk that the homeowners called 911 on him. The video shows Irvin staggering and falling down outside a residence. A portable breath test gave him was a 0.168 BAC, more than double Ohio's legal limit. He was immediately fired, and the local mayor said the department has zero tolerance for that kind of behavior, emphasizing that an officer could have been driving and hit somebody. And so could have Rivera. Critically, Walbridge Police Chief Ken Campbell noted that Irvin's body cam wasn't even on during the incident, illustrating a similar failure to record misconduct. That being said, I'm still waiting. I did want the footage from the police car because it activates after the accident, and they didn't send that to me, and I'm asking for that because that's probably going to give us a lot more insight into what Rivera did, because he wasn't in uniform, so we didn't have his body cam on, but his patrol car would have activated a camera when it hit something. So, and when we look at this pattern, it's not just limited to Ohio or Washington. Just last month in New York, state police arrested a Cicero police officer for aggravated DWI. It's reported that an officer, James Kazmersky, arrived at work visibly drunk on June 13th of 2025. A breath test showed a BAC of 0.210. He too was charged only with a misdemeanor, despite laws that could have sent him to jail. Each one of these stories, the Seattle OFC binder, Walbridge's Irving, and Cicero's Kazmersky, they underscore the same point, folks. Even those tasked with upholding local laws and state laws get special treatment or minimal consequences when they break it. It's striking how quickly this trust will erode people's trust, and in these cases, how quickly that trust was gone. You know, citizens will ask, why should anyone obey the rules if the law and rule makers don't? Every time an officer gets off with a slap on the wrist for a DWI or a DUI or an OVI, it chips away at confidence in our system, and that's the problem. You know, we have no confidence less than in our system, and I just don't understand that. You know, one of the biggest problems that I've had is with Lorain police is that they're liars. On multiple accounts, I've seen it. You know, I get it. Look, I get it. Those 3 guys getting shot was a big deal. And that one officer passing, that's huge. And he's a veteran. And we all felt a certain sort of way. And this is probably why, you know, when James Mauricio started questioning some officers' treatment of him, he got no traction, because one of those officers happens to be Officer Payne. And I do understand he's like a hero now to everybody. But again, as I've said before, your previous bad actions aren't erased by your current good ones. We all have sins to live for and deal with. Just like Angel Arroyo has his sins of beating his wife and drunk in public and resisting arrest, or drunk intoxicated driving and resisting arrest. Those don't go away, folks. Any more than me and the video of me getting beat up in a bar goes away. These things live on forever, and they have a way of taking on a life of their own. And this is what's gone on in our counties, our cities, and our communities. We have law enforcement lying and covering up for people in power. We have law enforcement lying and covering up for their own. And when it comes time to punish one of them for something, they don't want to throw the book at them, right? Do you think, go and look at my videos, right? I'm not going to post them on here. I'm not going to review them right here in front of you guys, but I'm going to say this much. Go to the Lorain page, the Lorain, Ohio page, or with, Lorain Daily Runs, or you can go on my page, the Lorain Politics Unplugged page, and see these body cams. I also posted them originally all on my YouTube channel, so you can check that out when you leave this podcast. Click on over to that playlist. You'll see all the body cams, and you'll see them all in a row. And so you can watch, the treatment that Rivera got. You can watch as, he went through the hospital, as he did the breathalyzer, as he did all of the facts, And that brings us to a better question. Another question, I should say, not a better one. Garen Petty often asks, why aren't we drug testing and alcohol testing people more often in our city? Why aren't we requiring regular randoms? I know they used to require random drug tests on everybody in the city of Lorain. I know they used to require random alcohol tests, and that's kind of how you keep people honest, especially in fields where public safety is important. You have people getting behind the wheel of city cruisers and vehicles, and we should be doing those randoms. And my understanding was we used to do those randoms all the time, and then suddenly, recently, we've just stopped. I'd like to know why. I mean, maybe someone should ask HR, Lori Kukowski, why we're no longer doing randoms. Maybe that would have caught some of these issues in advance. I'd like to really address why Lorain police officers still feel that they can talk to the citizenry any way they want. I recently corrected a sergeant for speaking to a citizen poorly. I don't really care how difficult your job is. I don't care if people crap on you on the regular. I just don't care. What I do care about is that you wear a badge, you wear a uniform, and under those policies and procedures laid down by LPD and city council and everybody else that signed off on that, you don't get to cuss at everybody. You don't get to act a certain way. You don't get to be douchey to people. You will speak with proper tone and respect at all times. I don't care. It sucks. I know it's hard to be accountable to the rules that your police force has laid down to you. We don't mute body cameras, right? But we did. Again, you hid this from the public. You minimized it like you did with Rivera. You made this into something it never had to be. What you did was turn this into another crime. It's a cover-up. It's a conspiracy. If any one of us tried to use that excuse, I want you to hear it, folks, out of my mouth. So imagine I'm a police officer. I've wrecked my car. I call up my boss after I've driven 20 minutes home, whatever it is, because he obviously lives in a place where there's a barn. That's not Lorraine. So he gets out to Wellington, wherever it is he lives, where there's a barn. He hides his car in the barn, and then he states for the record that he begins to drink at that point heavily and out of embarrassment or whatever. Then he calls his boss and tells his boss that he thinks he hit something. Dude, you didn't just sideswipe something. You crashed head on into two cars and trashed them. Then backed up and smacked into a shed to the point where you jacked up your back bumper. So, yeah, you trashed that car, bro. And it wasn't because you were tired. It's because you were drunk. I get it. I drink. We've all drank. Difference is that I didn't veer my truck off through someone's yard, smash into two cars in a shed, and then drive away. That's felony hit and run, a failure to report, and I don't know, a litany of other issues, including dereliction of duty, damage of public property, damage of private property, endangerment. I don't know. I'm pretty sure dereliction of duty, OVI. Even the problem I have with it is even the ops report concluded, when you listen to the ops report, that he would have been drunk no matter what. The driving home part, he drove home drunk. The stated amounts of everything, they said that in the time frames of what he drank and the BAC that he had, he was likely just as drunk or at least drunk enough to be over the legal limit when he was involved in the accident. But they still wrote it off as he was tired because he got up early to work. You didn't have to go to that promotional ceremony for that guy. You didn't have to go there and drink. You could have arranged a ride home instead of driving your Lorraine police car home drunk. Where was your uniform, your gun, your badge, all that? Did you have them in your trunk? Did you have your weapon properly secured in your trunk? You put your fellow officers in such a crap position. You made Jamie come all the way out to your house. Now his body camera is prima facie evidence of your misconduct. You put one of your fellow officers in this position. The fact that you guys covered for him makes me sad, but the fact he made you cover for him makes me mad. Think about that. This guy's supposed to be your leader. He's making jokes on the way home. I guess you're Sergeant Ball tonight. Yeah, because Jamie Ball didn't go out, get drunk, drive through a citizen's yard, smash into two cars, and then feloniously skirt away like a little to lick your wounds and figure out how to lie about this. And that's what you did. No one cares. Look, we all have to get up. We all have to work out, or some of us do. I don't. I do all these things. We have to get up and deal our day the way we're dealt. The fact that you've been working nights, the fact that you're tired, none of that mattered. The only thing actually it did matter. That shows that you were even more negligent because you knew you'd been working nights. You knew you were tired and you still chose to drink and you still chose to drive home. And in one of our patrol cars, mind you. And there was no accountability, really. Seriously, demotion to patrolman. How does he even still have a license? Like most normal people are suspended license for 6 months just on that alone. I just don't get it, folks. I can't understand how they think this is going to benefit the people or benefit the police or benefit anyone in the long run, because what happens here is that trust is lost, accountability is lost, everything is lost. And this is, again, I can't get someone to charge McCann for what he did to me. I got my own prosecuting attorney blowing me off. He was supposed to call me back by Monday. No call. I've got these issues with Lorain police that go unresolved. I have been calling out the rudeness of officers since I moved here. They speak to us like we're dirt. And then I get a sergeant come out to try to talk to me, or a lieutenant or whatever he was, and he wants to argue with me about it. I think it might have been Lieutenant Thompson. It couldn't have been. I don't know. Come out to argue with me and tell me, well, respect goes both ways. Well, it used to. But in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't, because your policy mandates it. I don't have a policy that mandates I be nice to people that are jerks to me. So it is a problem within Lorain police. It is a problem within the Lorain government. It is a problem that these people believe that they can talk down to you as if you are garbage. It is a problem that these people believe that they can break the law without any consequences. And it's happened time and time and time and time and time and time again. The assaults that happened out behind the FOP with the officers, the Tabitha case, the list just goes on and on and on, and all under McCann's watch, or at least people that were hired on under his watch. These are McCann's people, and they continue to break the law as McCann did. Again, the fact that this white officer would speak to this black citizen this way with such disdain, to call her a liar to her face, disgusts me, Nikki. That disgusts me. That kind of behavior looks racist, and it's definitively kind of jerky. Like, your whole attitude towards the citizen, towards everyone, is haughty and rude and nasty. You really are a bitch. I get it, but you can't show that to the public. Please stop. Please be nice. Like I scare people with my nice voice, but I always tell them, I sound like this all the time. I'm raspy, I'm deep, I'm like, this is me. Like, Sunday, not Saturday. But if you want my happy phone voice, most people don't like it. It's also like my touching therapy voice that I try to use, and I realize it sounds ridiculous, but you're like, oh, thank you for calling LSS 211 Central Ohio. This is Aaron. How may I assist you today? Oh, that sounds very troubling. I can imagine that's hard for you. Well, let me see what I can help you with. What taxonomy? We're going to look that taxonomy up for you really quick. And I just talk like this, and I can be like this, but I'm having to force this voice. But if this is what you have to do, Nikki, to talk nice to the people, instead of treating them like they're your ex, then do it. Because I'm tired of watching body cam vid of people in our public getting trashed by officers. I'm tired of watching these kind of things be done on body cams across the United States. People like Sean Paul Reyes doing these audits, people doing audits in law enforcement not being polite or nice. Everyone would call me out on my podcast and how I talk to people and tell people I'm, a horrible person. We dodged a bullet with you, but you'll stand by and let your police officers talk down to the very public that they serve and that pay their salaries and not give one iota of a care. To me, that's concerning. To me, you guys are concerning when you let that happen. I just don't get it. So we're going to take another quick break, and then when we come back, we're going to do our closing segment. Again, I thank you guys for tuning in today to Unplugged with Aaron Knapp, and we're going to go ahead and take our final break. In the meantime, if you want, while we're on break, you can pop over, check out the really, you're probably just going to fast forward, but check out the podcast, or the list of the body cam footage. I should be back in a couple of minutes. We're going to play some sponsorship stuff, and then I will return. Here at Unplugged with Aaron Knapp, we like to thank our sponsors. We have a few unofficial sponsors tonight, and they are definitely not paid sponsorships. I want to throw out there a big thank you to Joseph Jones and Eric Jones of the Lorain Daily and the Vermilion Daily. They have a local news page. You should check them out. They do plenty of great work broadcasting all the news that is the news that you want to have in Lorain and Lorain County. So check them out. Also, please, if you need any legal services, feel free to reach out to Robert Gargas. You can find him listed online. He's a fine attorney and comes highly recommended by yours truly. And last but not least, I want to mention DNC Radio. Please make sure you check out one of the up-and-coming internet hip-hop stations and all of their shows. They put on a lot of shows. You have the Never Outdone show. You also have the Eric Bowen show, Speak Up, Speak Out. So please make sure you guys check them out as well if you're looking for your latest and up-to-date hip-hop artistry. Thank you for tuning in. This has been a non-paid sponsorship brought to you by Unplugged with Aaron Knapp.
Unplug with Nap. Yeah, we cut through the noise. No script, no leash, no polished decoys. Broadcasting without permission. We don't ask. We lift the curtain and we drop the mask. Unplug with Nap. Yeah, we cut through the noise. No script, no leash, no polished decoys. Broadcasting without permission. We don't ask. We lift the curtain and we drop the mask. Unplug with Nap. Yeah, we cut through the noise. No script, no leash, no polished decoys.
All right, folks, welcome back here to Unplugged with Aaron Knapp. We're going to get into our final segment here of the evening or the afternoon or the morning, whenever you're watching it, and get into our closing thoughts and a discussion about accountability and trust today, and we'll move forward from there. So in our final segment, we're going to discuss here some accountability and public trust issues. Now, as I've walked you through this one city's case, right, but I want to bring it home for you. What does this mean for all of us, right? When stories like Rivera's, Irvin's, Kazmersky's, they come out, they aren't just local headlines, right? They're reminders that public trust in policing is very fragile. Every officer DUI, every muted body camera, every slighted witness shakes that trust. I myself have had multiple interactions with law enforcement that I fell below the standards. I've had conversations with officers when I've brought up, hey, there's this broken telephone pole that someone backed into, tied to someone's tree that could fall on kids. And the officer, Forensi's response, I believe it was at the time, was, why do you even care? It's not your property. You know, my answer to that's always been, well, when you say, well, Mr. Knapp, I know you carry, so I see in the street, I see Posse Comitatus, can you assist me with this criminal that's assaulting me? And I say, sorry, why would I do that? That's not my property. That doesn't make sense, see? It's everyone's responsibility to try to help out. Everyone thinks that I dislike police. I'd like to know how you turn a flag-waving Republican veteran who wanted to be a cop into somebody that disliked the police. You know, I took all law enforcement classes in school before I started my social work path. I had a plan to be in law enforcement, and I'm glad I didn't now, because this is what I see is what Lorraine's police force has become. I walk into the police station and I've had to fight to get respect from the officers. Now, when they see me, they stand tall, they stand up straight. My daughter even points it out that the SROs act different when I'm around, but it shouldn't be that way, folks. You guys should always be 1,000% assuming that you're in the public eye, assuming that someone's always watching, right? It's not always me. And I know this because of the videos, the audios, and the messages that are in my inbox that I haven't even gotten to yet from people around the area that send me these things. You know, I watched a auditor at the local marijuana shop over here auditing a sergeant or an officer, a deputy from Lorain Police, and that totally fell below Lorain County Sheriff. And that deputy's attitude totally fell what I thought should be an appropriate standard for law enforcement. But they've watched McCann walk over and talk crap to everybody. They watched him treat everyone from the mayor down like dirt. And so why wouldn't they think they have the right to do that? when they have their disciplinary files are kept in Lorain police instead of with HR like they're supposed to be. When they know they're not being regularly drug and alcohol checked, you're not getting any sort of, mandatory surprise checks like they used to because they were required in order for the city of Lorain to get, stay on top of things and be in the front. They were required in the military. So again, why aren't our officials peeing in cups? Why aren't our people that are driving our cars and our vehicles being regularly checked? Why aren't we, fire one cop for muting body camera and I guarantee you they'll stop doing it. Or how about just take the mute off? Because in the grand scheme of things, we don't get the body camera footage unmuted unless you give it to us unmuted. And since you redact picture stuff, you could redact the audio. Take off the mute button. You want to know how important the mute button is to me? I don't even know where it's at on my body camera. Why would you care to mute unless you're conspiring? And that's what they were doing. You clearly see that they were talking about what happened. Kent, whatever his name is, he was slowly figuring out it was a Lorain police car. Like, even in my story that I wrote, I was like, or in the video I released, I think I released something. I just put like, honestly, this is the moment it's sinking in. He's like, oh, crap. And he's looking at this piece of a fender from a Lorain police car. So, again, he's telling them in this moment that all the citizens were wrong. They're lying. They're saying they're lying. And yet now here we are. They were right. The citizens weren't lying. The city owes those citizens an apology, especially that woman. Nikki should definitely apologize to her. I'm not going to argue with her, Nikki says. I'm not going to argue with you. I'm not going to argue with you. This is what you cops always say. I'm not going to argue with you. Well, here for the record, you're not arguing with us. You're listening. You are law enforcement. You listen with your ears, not your mouth, as we teach in kindergarten. So when you listen to the citizens instead of running your yap like you're better than us with your little 16-week post-course and associate's degree, and just being a total B-word to the citizens, if you just listened, Nikki, then maybe we wouldn't have this problem. But, it was one thing to watch Jamie Ball be forced into his duty. It's another thing to watch you three buffoons out on the scene calling citizens liars. But, when stories like Rivera's, Irvin's, Comiskey's, they come out, they're not local headlines. They're just also reminders that this trust is fragile and that every officer OVI and these muted cameras and these slided witness shakes, they shake that trust. And then Lorain's internal own report states that Rivera's actions fell below the standards expected of a professional officer. It concluded he damaged the public trust. All internal disciplines and external charges flow from the violation of that, duty. An Ohio mayor dealing with another drunk officer put it bluntly in one of the stories I read. He's like, we highly value the public trust, he said, and have zero tolerance for behavior that betrays it. Those words should echo for everyone in law enforcement. We need accountability, folks. When officers cover for each other, when they lie under oath, or turn off their body cameras or mute them, it's not an internal matter. It is a matter for the public. Communities deserve transparent investigations, right? Communities deserve to have trust in their officers. And those investigations should become like the trust that we have. And so when communities get that kind of transparent investigation and genuine and then they see genuine consequences, then you'll actually feel better. One of the stories, one of the journalists asked, who watches the Watchmen? And if the answers aren't clear, faith in the system crumbles. That's why I'm telling you this story in full. That's why it's not just about one crash or one officer. It's about the policies that govern every police department and the expectations we hold for those who carry the badge. Because understand this, I had to fight for over a year just to get Levesque to release the policies and procedures handbook to me, which was supposed to be public. And after saying he was going to release it and redact it and making me wait, months to get every piece of it individually in tiny bits, they went and posted the whole thing online because that's what, our future sheriff was saying they should have done to begin with. And, when people feel protected rather than deceived, trust grows. When officers face real repercussions for misconduct, communities get to heal a little bit at a time. And when these routine crashes turn into complex cover-ups, we're all going to pay the price, folks. That's the problem. That's the problem at hand. That's the problem that we've been having, and I can't stress enough how much police accountability is important. I'm still, AJ, arguably he had a rough week, I guess, but I'm still waiting on his detective to get back to me. How much you want to bet they don't charge carry on with disturbing a meeting, and they don't charge Tia with that, and they don't do anything about the electioneering issues with Angel showing up? They probably won't do anything. They'll probably come back with some sort of excuse, but yet they did it against Garen. That's the difference. And that's the end. In the end, it says, Garen always says, what is it? Rules for thee, not for me. I feel it. So I'm not allowed to feel safe at city council meetings, right? For as much as Tia Hilton claimed that I was after her, she shows up at two places that she knows me to be at, specifically to yell and scream at me, one of them being at an election polling site, and our law enforcement does absolutely nothing. She comes to a complaint to Sheriff Hall and his, Keystone deputies and says, hashtag Aaron Knapp said something, and they just at her beck and call. You guys explain that to me. I'd love to know why my pretty boy sheriff, completely ignores any sort of accountability on that matter for his deputies, why they wouldn't give me a decent investigation into the way that they handled things, why he's still letting Nietzsche operate on his behalf when his public lawyer is actually considered the prosecuting attorney's office in Lee Prue. And don't even get me started on her. So I just want to thank you guys once again for listening and tuning in. My name is Aaron Knapp, and this has been Unplugged with Aaron Knapp. Another episode on police accountability here. So stay safe out there. And just a reminder, justice starts with the truth, folks. Law enforcement, you be lawful, not awful. Thanks for tuning in. This has been Aaron Knapp, and this show has been brought to you by the following sponsors. Here at Unplugged with Aaron Knapp, we like to thank our sponsors. We have a few unofficial sponsors tonight, and they are definitely not paid sponsorships. I want to throw out there a big thank you to Joseph Jones and Eric Jones of the Lorraine Daily and the Vermilion Daily. They have a local news page. You should check them out. They do plenty of great work, broadcasting all the news that is the news that you want to have in Lorain and Lorain County. So check them out. Also, please, if you need any legal services, feel free to reach out to Robert Gargas. You can find him listed online. He's a fine attorney and comes highly recommended by yours truly. And last but not least, I want to mention DNC Radio. Please make sure you check out one of the up-and-coming internet hip-hop stations and all of their shows. They put on a lot of shows. You have the Never Outdone show. You also have the Eric Bowen show, Speak Up, Speak Out. So please make sure you guys check them out as well if you're looking for your latest and up-to-date hip-hop artistry.
Unplug with Nap. Yeah, we cut through the noise. No script, no leash, no polished decoys. Broadcasting without permission. We don't ask. We lift the curtain and we drop the mask. Unplug with Nap. Yeah, we cut through the noise. No script, no leash, no polished decoys. Broadcasting without permission. We don't ask. We lift the curtain and we drop the mask. Unplug with Nap. Yeah, we cut through the noise. No script, no leash, no polished decoys. Broadcasting without permission. We don't ask. We lift the
I just want to remind people that your voice does matter, and people like that charge should not be in office, in my most humble opinion. You see, he just gets up here and bashes a damn former. Are you going to address the council or me? I'm talking. So anyways, I'm going to finish what I'm saying because I don't ever come here anymore, and I have a right to. He is, in my most humble opinion, a piece of shit. The city's already no. They need to know. He causes trouble. He's a fucking headache.